Begum Akhtar, where the ghazal found its voice. Good evening and welcome. Tonight we remember a voice that did not merely sing the ghazal, it became the ghazal. A voice that carried in it the fragrance of Urdu poetry, the discipline of classical training, and the ache of a woman who lived every note she ever sang. This is the story of Begum Akhtar, the woman who gave emotion to its sound and gave the ghazal its soul. She was born Akhtari by Faizabadi on October 7th, 1914, in Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh. Her beginnings were humble, her childhood marked by struggle. Her father, Asghar Hussain, left her mother when Akhtari was still a child. Raised by her mother, Mushtari Bai Akhtari found herself in a world where women had little support and even less respect unless they could sing, and sing she could. Even as a young girl, her voice carried a strange magnetism, tender yet commanding, sorrowful yet serene. She found solace in that voice. It became her world, her refuge, and in time her destiny. She would later say, Gana mere liye dawa hai, ibadat hai. Singing is my medicine, my worship. That conviction was not a metaphor, it was the very core of her being. Akhtari began her training under Ustad Imdad Khan of Patiala Gharana, a strict and rigorous guru who believed that mastery began with surrender. Later, she studied under Ustad Ata Muhammad Khan and Ustad Abdul Wahid Khan of Kirana Gharana. In those days, the disciple lived with the master. Lessons began at dawn, and months could pass practicing a single note. But Akhtari thrived in that discipline. She once said that Riyaz, the daily practice, was not mere training, it was meditation. But by her teens, she had mastered Tumri, Dadra, and Ghazal, the delicate forms that would later define her art. Her first major performance came in 1934 at Alfred Theatre in Calcutta. In a concert to raise funds for Nepal Bihar earthquake victims, the audience that evening included Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India, who rose to praise the young Akhtari Bai. That evening changed everything. Akhtari sang four ghazals and five dadras back to back, and when she ended, there was absolute silence. That evening changed everything. Akhtari sang four ghazals and five dadras back to back. And when she ended, there was silence, the kind that follows revelation. Sarojini Naidu would later recall her voice and say, echo of centuries of Indian womanhood, strong, scarred, and beautiful. Soon, Akhtari's name began appearing on gramophone records produced by the Megaphone Record Company. Her early recordings numbered more than 100, but it was one particular ghazal, Divana Banana Hai to Divana Bana De, that made her a national sensation. The song's words were written by Behzad Lakhnavi, and its emotional intensity make it unforgettable. Around the same time, cinema came calling. She appeared in several Kolkata films, Ek Din Ka Badshah, Roop Kumari, Mumtaz Begum, and Anarbala. Her striking presence and expressive face drew audiences, but her heart was elsewhere. As Ustad Ata Muhammad Khan warned her, either you sing or you act, but never both. That advice shaped her destiny. She chose music. But fame, as always, came with a complexity. The 1930s in Lucknow were an era of glittering salons and princely patronage. Raja Ali Shah Khan of Rampur became one of her most devoted patrons. He showered her with gifts, including a Packard car, a symbol of luxury in its time. Akhtari kept a home in Lucknow where poets, musicians, and aristocrats gathered to hear her sing. By the late 1930s, she was one of the wealthiest and most glamorous women in the city. Yet, beneath the jewels and silks lay the uneasy of a woman navigating a world that revered her art but questioned her respectability. In those days, the line between Tawayaf and the artist was thin, and for all her success, Sakhtari longed for acceptance beyond the salons of Lucknow. She once said with characteristic dignity, I am proud of my family singing background. How can you blame someone for her birth? You must accept what God gave you and make your own life. In pursuit of respectability, she found the expression in 1945 when she married Ishtiaq Ahmad Abbasi, the Nawab of Kakori. The marriage gave her the name by which the world would remember her as Begum Akhtar. But it soon took away her voice. Abbasi, a man of letters himself, was not unkind but believed that public performance was not suitable for a woman of his household. For nearly 5 years, Begum Akhtar lived in silence. Even humming a tune, she said later, felt like a transgression. The death of her mother during this period deepened her despair. She confessed, I gave up everything for him, but he could not give up even a little for me. I was not allowed to perform anywhere, not even on the radio. For a year and a half, even humming a tune was impossible. I looked sick. Only then did I realize how thoroughly song had penetrated my heart. It was her doctor who understood that medicine could not cure. He told her husband simply, let her sing, and so she did. Her return to music was nothing short of resurrection. In 1949, she returned to the microphone at All India Radio Lucknow as Akhtar Ishtiaq, her married name. Her first broadcast after years of silence left listeners spellbound. That day marked the rebirth of an artist and the beginning of a new era for Indian music. From that point on, she performed tirelessly. At All India Radio, in concerts, in cultural delegations abroad, her art had deepened, her voice carried the weight of experience. There was a new gravity in her singing, a quiet ache that spoke directly to the heart. She once said, singing is not about voice, it's about the life that voice has lived. And her life, with all its longing and solitude, had become her instrument. Her admirers spanned generations and ideologies. Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, often invited her to perform at state gatherings. He said that her music bridged the gap between India's classical heritage and the emotions of her people. Once moved by a ghazal she sang, he asked that it be replayed for visiting dignitaries, a gesture that only a few artists ever received. Begum Akhtar was equally admired by poets. Kafi Azmi once recalled bringing a new ghazal to her. When she sang it, he said, I realized my own words could not capture the emotion she brought to them. Even Pandit Ravi Shankar dedicated his Sindhi Bhairavi to her, and the actor Dilip Kumar admitted that the sadness in her music inspired his image of the tragic hero. What made Begum Akhtar unique was her ability to make poetry audible. Her enunciation, her talaffuz was impeccable. Every syllable of Ghalib, Faiz, or Jigar Muradabadi rolled off her tongue with reverence and clarity. She sang nearly 400 songs, ghazals, dadras, and tumris, drawing from both classical and modern poets, from Ghalib's Ye na thi hamari kismat to Faiz's Ay kuch abr, kuch sharab aaye, from Shakil Badayani's ए मोहब्बत तेरे अंजाम पे रोना आया to Sudarshan Fakir's कुछ तो दुनिया की इनायत ने दिल तोड़ दिया. She transformed words into emotion. Her charm was legendary. She was not conventionally beautiful, but her presence was magnetic. Her friend Sheila Dhar wrote of Nawab of Rampur, who compared her smile to a diamond in a seven-stringed Basra pearl necklace, saying, if anything shines brighter than that diamond, it's Akhtari's smile. On stage, that smile, framed by her diamond nose pin, made every listener feel she was singing just for them. And maybe she was. From the early 1960s until her death, she toured across India and abroad to Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even USSR. Representing India's musical heritage, she also trained a devoted circle of students, Shanti Hirananda, Rita Ganguly, Anjali Banerjee, who admiringly called her Ammi. For them, she was not merely a teacher, but a guardian of an entire tradition. Her performances were no longer held in royal courts, but in public halls. The music of the courtesan had entered the national stage. What was once considered to be the light classical had gained a new respectability, all thanks to her. Even the poets fell under her spell. The Kashmiri poet Agha Shahid adored her. He wrote movingly of his love for her music and the ache it left behind. In one of his elegies after her death, he wrote, Ghazal, that death-sustaining widow sobs in dingy archives, hooked to you. She wears her grief, a moon-soaked white, corners the sky into disbelief. Such was the devotion. Begum Akhtar passed away on October 30th, 1974 in Ahmedabad. Fittingly, she was on stage when she collapsed. Mid-performance, her final notes unfinished, the stage that had given her life finally claimed her. She was buried in Lucknow, the city that had been both her muse and her mirror. And perhaps in the quiet evenings there, when the wind passes through the old lanes, one might still hear her voice, faint, eternal, singing somewhere beyond time. She received the Padma Shri in 1968, the Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 1972, and the Padma Bhushan posthumously in 1975. Yet, her greatest reward was never a medal. It was the echo she left in the hearts of those who heard her. To listen to Begum Akhtar is to understand that music can be both wound and balm, both confession and a prayer. As Kafi Azmi said, by listening to her ghazal, one belongs to see the ghazal itself. And so we remember her, the voice that carried the ache of a nation, the woman who made poetry breathe, Begum Akhtar, the queen of ghazals, yes, but more than that, the woman who gave ghazal its voice. Thank you.